investing books by the Bestseller Book Review, among other books by Jim Cramer and Robert Kiyosaki. I've purchased millions of dollars of real estate since age 22 for myself, and I've helped clients purchase millions more. I'm also a contributor for the Huffington Post and Inc.com. I'm featured on all sorts of national media outlets as well, like CBS, Fox, ABC, all that. I have celebrity clients like Matthew Lesko. You might better know him as the question mark guy. So here's what we're going to cover on the webinar: the biggest investing mistake most investors make and how you can avoid it. We're going to cover the turnkey trifecta investment method in detail. I'll tell you exactly how to find and buy those investments. Now, by the end, you'll see a totally different life for yourself. You'll see a totally different outcome for your retirement, and it'll even change your life now as well, which is important. And I have a $197 free bonus for those that stick around until the end. And let me tell you, you're going to want to stick around to the end. I promise. Nothing is for sale on this webinar at all. I'm just giving 100% value, 100% free content. Now, there's three big things to the turnkey trifecta investment method. We're going to cover each of those three on this webinar. Now, so you can get the most out of this, please shut down all of your distractions. Let people in your house know that this is a really important thing. We're only going to go about 45 minutes here, so I'm going to speak very fast. But shut down your email, your Skype, put away your cell phone. Just please, this will be the most important 45 minutes you'll ever spend on your retirement, on your investments, and on your future. I promise. I also have a notepad and pen handy. I'm going to ask you to jot down a few things, and you're going to want to take notes as well. And I'm going to be covering a lot and very quickly. And we're just doing a little simple math on here as well. So if you have any questions, my assistant Courtney will be answering questions in the live chat box. But a lot of times it gets really busy, so if she can't get to your questions, she'll email you after with the answer. And we'll also have a Q&A session at the end, time permitting. So if you want to write down your questions, that'd be great too. Now, here's a quick warning. Don't prejudge this info. This info is not like investing in the stock market, investing in mutual funds, doing the normal thing. If you do what's average, you're going to get average results. So this is not that. And sometimes when we get information that's not what we've known in the past, or whatever, or what most people do, what an average person does, sometimes we tend to throw it away or be very skeptical of it, or what have you. So I just ask you to have an open mind throughout this webinar here. Here's my promise to you. These will be the best 45 minutes you've ever spent on your investments. There'll be cutting edge info, and when you leave this training, you'll have a complete roadmap to start investing in a way that will almost guarantee that you meet your retirement goals and live the retirement lifestyle that you've been working so hard for all of your life. And not 1 in 10,000 people know what I'm about to teach you. And I promise not to leave anything out, and there's nothing for sale. Now, I want to start this webinar off with a ballsy guarantee. If I don't deliver on this webinar, if I don't give you everything I said I'm going to give you, if you're not happy with it, if you don't feel by the end of this that this is the best 45 minutes you've spent in your investments, I want to send you $100 of my own money. I want to take all the risk here. And I want to make sure you stay to the end, and I'll provide an email address at the end of the webinar where if you feel that way, which we've only had a couple people out of, probably 10,000 people at this point have seen this webinar, okay? So there's that. Here's why I'm sharing this. I've been involved in real estate for the past 13 years in various capacities, with flips, rehabs, rentals, all that kind of stuff. I bought my first investment property at age 22, and after a while, my friends and family saw what I was doing, and then I was, being successful, and they wanted in, like most family members do. So I started buying bigger packages of properties, and I would sell some to them. And after a while, my friends and family started sending their friends and family to me for help. And at that point, I realized that people really need investing help. So I'm happy to share this information. So does this sound like you? Are you tired of investing in stocks and mutual funds, or worse yet, bonds and CDs, and getting single-digit returns on your funds? Or are you worried about not having enough money for your retirement, or not being able to live the retirement lifestyle that you want to live, or about being a burden to your family? Are you worried about having to work a job during retirement, or are you worried about whether the next market downturn is going to cut your 401k in half? Are you tired of the buy, hold, and pray investing strategies, or avoiding looking at your monthly statements, just letting them build up because you're scared to look at them? Okay, I can relate. I've been there, and I feel your pain. You try different things and nothing seems to work. You do what everyone tells you to do, or what everyone else seems to be doing, and it's not working. There was a time when I didn't know what to do either, and it's scary. It's really scary, honestly. And this is your future that we're talking about. If you don't have an investing system that is tried, tested, and proven, there's no other place you need to be for the next 45 minutes. Here's some scary statistics. 1/3 of U.S. households between the ages of 30 and 59 won't have enough money for retirement, even if they work until they're 70. Just 30% of individuals are on track to save the 11 times annual salary that experts say they'll need to maintain their standard of living after retiring at age 55. And that's a really, really conservative number. Money Magazine found that 55% of retired Americans are dependent on someone else to live, whether it be welfare, family assistance, a job, whatever. And it's only getting worse. And here's some more scary statistics. About 50% of current retirees left the workforce before their anticipated retirement date due to health problems, disability, or getting laid off, cutting the amount of time that they had to save for retirement short. So you might not have as much time as you think you have, okay? 60% of households age 65 and older rely on Social Security benefits, which provide them with more income than any other source of retirement funding. Here's the sad thing about Social Security. Even the Social Security website says that their projections hold true until, quote, depletion of combined trust fund reserves in 2033. That's a nice way of saying they're going to be broke. Social Security currently holds about $2.7 trillion in total assets, and the government estimates the program's liabilities exceed $40 trillion. Social Security's second biggest trust fund, the Disability Insurance Fund, will be fully depleted in a matter of weeks. Now, in the 2015 report of the Social Security and Medicare Board of Trustees, they state very plainly, Social Security as a whole, as well as Medicare, cannot sustain projected long-run program costs, and that the government should be, quote, giving the public adequate time to prepare. So you can't count on Social Security. Some more scary statistics. $1,335 is the average monthly benefit that people receive. The most that I've ever heard anybody receive is $1,600. And that's after a spouse has died and all that kind of stuff. Very scary. Could you live on that? I can't. Here's another scary thought. Citigroup. I saw this recently. Company to pay $425 million to settle claims that it manipulated key financial benchmarks. Okay? So you're investing in these big companies in the stock market, and they're not telling the truth on their financial reporting. Look at Enron. So here's some serious questions for you. What would happen to you in your family if you ran out of money before you died? Or if you got a serious illness tomorrow and couldn't work anymore, or you lost a big portion of your investments because of a market downturn or company scandal or what have you. There's nothing worse than worrying. It affects your sleep, your chest tightens up, makes it hard to breathe. Stress seriously deteriorates your quality of life. And the problem only gets worse down the line if you don't do something now. Now, the problem is average investing, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, CDs, etc. Stocks and mutual funds result in an average 6.3% return, which I'll show you in a second. Returns are worse for bonds and CDs and savings accounts and all that. The big question is, how can you expect to get anything other than average returns if you're investing in average ways? And the answer is you can't. Here's a 100-year snapshot of stock market returns showing 6.3% on average. Even Warren Buffett agrees. He told Bloomberg, investors in U.S. stocks should expect a return of about 6 to 7% a year, and people who are looking for double those gains are, quote, dreaming. Here's the problem with the normal plan. Stocks require you to sit and hope that they increase in value, and then you have to sell at just the right time, too. With stocks, once you retire, you need to start selling and actually taking from the principal, which means you're earning less money on your money. And what if you retire during a recession or a depression and have to take a huge loss by cashing in your investments in a down market? Some years the stock market goes up and some years it goes down, but returns only average out to 6.3%. Now, the average plan says to get a good job, work your butt off, save 10 to 15% of each of your paychecks, and in 40 or 50 years you'll have enough money to finally retire and live the good life. This plan might make sense on the surface, but here's the problems. This plan was designed by mutual fund companies and financial planners, and they make a significant amount of money off of this plan with their fees and commissions, which are oftentimes hidden. The more you save and invest through their plan, the more they'll make or take from you, regardless of whether you make money or not. Fees and commissions range from 1 to 3%. Sometimes fees might not be so obvious. Let me illustrate. Joe, Matt, and Brian all invest $100,000 at age 35. Each selects a different mutual fund, and let's assume for the sake of this example that each fund has equal performance. At age 65, they get together and they compare notes. They realize that they were paying different annual fees of 1%, 2%, and 3% respectively. So here's what it means. Brian had 3% fees and had a balance of $432,000. Matt had 2% fees and had a balance of $574,000, and Joe had 1% fees and had a balance of $761,000. So the same investment amount, the same returns, and Joe had nearly twice as much money as his friend Brian. It's like being in a leaky boat. As fast as you're pouring money in, it's literally pouring out. But it's not your fault your investments aren't performing as they should be. Knowing how much and where to invest is honestly complicated. You almost have to have insider knowledge to get anything better than average returns in the stock market. And the stock market almost seems like Vegas. You can only win if you cheat. Now, let's get to the turnkey trifecta investment method here. There's three big things. We're going to cover the first one here, goals. Now, it's important to know where you're starting from and where you're going. So it's important to know how much money you currently have in your retirement accounts, what your rate of yearly return on your money is, and when you want to retire in years from now. So here I kind of created a chart, your money in 15 years. So based on, you take a look at the top part here, based on the return that you're currently getting, that's the top, and the left side is how much money you currently have in your investments. Wherever they meet, that's how much you're going to have in 15 years. Now, maybe you have 20 years to retire, maybe you have 10 years to retire. I can't cover all the specific numbers on this webinar, but 15 years kind of seems to be a common, time frame from now when people want to retire. Okay. So it's also important to know before we head there, I want you to write down this number on your pad there. Just write it down on your pad of paper. So if you're making 6% and you have $200,000 right now, in 15 years you'll have $479,312. Write that number down. I'll just give you a quick second here because we got to keep rolling if we want to stick to this 45-minute time frame here. All right, so it's also important to know what you want. You want matching Cadillacs for you and your spouse. You want to retire early. You want to travel. You want to be able to take care of your family, kids, and grandchildren, maybe pay for college. You also need money for medical expenses, travel, housing, taxes, cars, food, entertainment, etc. The list goes on and on. Look at the cost of college. Less than 20 years, the price of college is going to almost triple. Okay, and here's an article I saw recently on the Chicago Tribune. Retirement shocker, $260,000 in healthcare costs expenses per couple. That's insane. So how much will you need? The number of Americans living to see 100 has grown over 65.8% over the last 3 decades. That means you might need up to 35 years of funds. The minimum I recommend having is $3,000 a month, and that comes out to needing $1.26 million. That's doing things the normal way. Okay, I'm going to show you a better way with the turnkey trifecta investment method here. And most people that I talk to want $10,000 a month, okay, which is totally fine and totally doable as long as you get on it now. Now, the same $1.26 million invested in real estate would get you $15,000 a month, not $3,000 a month, doing things the normal way. Okay, so we talked about goals there. We're going to talk about system here. Everything can change with a system. Most people make easily avoidable mistakes when it comes to investing, and a system can totally change that. In fact, if you follow the system I'm about to show you, I can virtually guarantee that you'll never be short of money for as long as you live. And once you have a system, you can retire faster with far greater security and better returns. You don't have to worry all the time. You'll be able to retire on your terms, and you'll have the freedom to do what you want when you want, which is the most important thing in retirement with your loved ones and the people who matter most to you. So here's what to do. Take all or a significant portion of your retirement fund and invest it into real estate that meets the following rules. And yes, I said to invest all or a significant portion in real estate. Diversification basically involves spreading your investments across multiple companies, industries, investment vehicles, and hoping for the best. Okay, it's the invest and pray method. Okay, whereas if you know what you're doing, if you know the numbers, if you know what to expect, you don't have to be very cautious, to be honest with you. Here's what Warren said. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So wide diversification is only required when investors are ignorant. You only have to do a few things in your life, so long as you don't do too many things wrong. So here's the investing rules for the turnkey trifecta investment method. Buy single-family homes using cash or retirement funds in areas with average appreciation and high rental demand, where the rent is high and the property values are low, in areas with average appreciation, in working class areas, and hire a management company. Even Warren Buffett says it here in the CNBC article. Houses are even better than stocks. I'm going to play a quick clip here from Warren.
If I had a way of buying a couple 100,000 single-family homes and had a way of managing. The management is enormous. It was really a problem because they're one by one. They're not like apartment houses. But I would load up on them. It's a very attractive asset class now.
Housing, everything real estate related was part of a bubble, and the coming years are going to be a lot better. We see it in all our housing related businesses. We have a brick business, we have a carpet business, we have insulation. I mean, we are in all aspects of housing, and they're all coming back strong.
So there you have it. So why real estate? The richest people on the planet either made their fortune in real estate, use real estate to hold their fortune, or both. It's the investment vehicle that 90% of millionaires use to keep their money growing for them safely and securely. Real estate will bring you both predictable monthly cash flow and appreciation, all from day one. Although appreciation shouldn't be counted on, it's just a bonus. And any of the numbers that we give you here, appreciation is not counted. The key is understanding cash flow and how to use it safely to succeed with your retirement. Forbes came out with the industries that produce the most Forbes billionaires worldwide. Real estate's number 3. Now, if you have specific investing knowledge, like you're an investment broker, you have, that's your full-time job to watch the markets and what have you, you can probably make money in the stock market and mutual funds consistently. But that's not most people, okay? And fashion and real estate, if you know, or fashion and retail, if you know about that and you can make money there, great. I know nothing about it, and most people don't. So 1 and 2 are out for most people. But real estate is actually one of the best thing that the average person can do to create great wealth. So still to come here, we're going to cover four case studies, more details about the process, what your retirement could look like with real estate with specific numbers, and that $197 bonus. So stick around. We're really ramping things up here. We just had to, kind of build the foundation here. Now, the third thing is high rate of return. Real estate provides 13% returns. That's the third part of the turnkey trifecta investment method. Now here's the difference. Let's say your retirement account has $150,000 in it right now. Let's say you wanted to retire in 15 years. Let's also say that you were making the average return in the stock market of 6.3%. Your $150,000 would turn into $375,000 at the end of 15 years. But making 13% in real estate, it would instead turn into $902,000 in 15 years. That's $527,000 more by investing in real estate. Small changes can make huge differences. Let's stick with the same numbers we just talked about. $150,000, retire in 15 years, making 6.3%, and ended up with $375,000. If you just increased your return by just 1%, so from 6.3 to 7.3, you would make $30,000 more. Just a 2% increase, $91,000 more. 4% increase, $247,000 more. The return percentage makes a huge difference, and that's the power of real estate. You can almost double the normal returns that you get in stocks and with stocks and mutual funds. Here's a case study of our client George. He bought one of our properties in Columbus, Ohio. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, purchased it for $41,500, rented for $725 a month. His expenses were $260 a month, taxes, insurance, water bill, property management, repair, vacancy allowance, all that. So he's making $465 a month net profit after all expenses. That's $55.85 a year. He's making 13.5% net ROI. Now, our method is completely hands-off. You wouldn't be a landlord. There's no getting calls at 2 in the morning to unclog a toilet. It's turnkey real estate. It's fixed up, rented, professionally managed. You never have to deal with the tenant. You just deposit the checks, and even that can happen automatically if you want. Now, the power of real estate exploits the joys of compound interest. You reinvest your earnings until you retire, then you let them come in as regular monthly paychecks. And all the numbers we talk about assume you're reinvesting the profits until you retire, not adding any more money, although you could, and your numbers would be better. Now, if you're already retired, you can take the checks as they come or reinvest them for much bigger checks later on. Here's a quote from Albert Einstein. Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. So real estate really provides you with income forever. Having rental properties is truly like the goose that laid the golden egg. Let them grow and they'll produce income in the form of monthly cash flow for as long as you're lucky enough to be alive. And then they'll produce the same amount of income for your family after you're gone. This is the huge part. When you're investing in stocks and mutual funds and that kind of stuff, you retire, you start taking from the principal. So you're just literally hoping and praying that you're going to have enough money until you die. Okay, and then there's probably not going to be much left for your family to take care of your wife or your kids after the fact. With real estate, you never dip into the principal. The money kind of continues forever. Okay, the key is to not dip into the actual principal by selling the properties or extracting equity. Here's my real estate story. About 5 years ago, I took $168,000 from my retirement accounts and bought 4 rental properties. And over the course of the past 5 years, I was able to buy 3 more properties just from the profits, not adding any additional money. Now I have 7 properties, making me $3,185 a month in cash flow and $302,000 in cash and equity. Now, when I talk about cash and equity, we're talking about there is really just the purchase price of the property plus any money that I have left over in my account that can't quite buy another property. We do not take appreciation into account. We do not factor in rent increases or anything like that. We can't control those. It's not fair to calculate those into the numbers. So when I retire 15 years from now, I will have 46 rental properties, $20,930 a month in positive cash flow after all expenses, and $1.9 million in cash in equity. Not a bad deal. Now, because I know my retirement is on autopilot, I don't have to worry about saving any more money right now. I could, but I don't have to worry about it, which means I can enjoy life now. And as you can see by what I'm going to be bringing in during retirement, I can enjoy life then too. So your decisions now not only affect you during retirement, but they can also affect you now. Okay. For instance, I just took my girlfriend on a trip to Ireland for her birthday. We even flew first class. Here's us hanging out with friends in Curacao, and here's me getting my pilot's license or swimming with dolphins. Now, here's a few things. With this plan, you'll reduce the amount of money that you'll have to save for retirement, and you'll retire with 300 to 400% more in annual income. If you're currently saving 10 to 15% of your salary, you'll have an instant 10 to 15% pay raise. That's how it can affect your life now. These numbers don't include Social Security or any other pensions you might be entitled to as well. But, we're kind of hoping Social Security will be there, but we're not really counting on it. So you wrote down that number before on your pad with doing normal investing. We're going to jot down whatever number this is for you. This would be your number investing in real estate. So if you had $250,000 at 13%, at the end you'd have $1.6 million in cash and equity. So write that number down. Okay, write the number down in the 13% column and match that up with the funds that you have right now. And if you can do that quickly, because we got to move on here. We're short on time because we're covering a lot here. Okay, moving on here. All right, so let's do some basic math. You got those two numbers down there. Take the first number you wrote down and subtract it from the number that you just wrote down. This is the amount that you're choosing to leave on the table by investing in things that don't produce the returns you should be getting, like real estate. What I want you to do is circle this number, underline it, put an asterisk there, make a mental note of it, okay? Here's case study number 2 we're going to cover here. We're not going to go through the detailed numbers here. But Isabel, one of our great clients on this property, she has a couple with us, but this property she's making 13.6 net ROI. She's bringing in $5,896 a year on this cash cow. So before we buy any property, for ourselves or our clients, they're fully inspected and put through our 62-point inspection. And any issues found during inspection are repaired. We don't want to take on a bad risk when we buy properties, and we don't expect you to either. And that's why each of our properties comes with a 30-day warranty. Here's case study number 3. Steve Gerard purchased a property in Columbus. He's making $6,660 a year in positive cash flow after all expenses. So imagine having invested the $49,900 that Steve he invested here. Sorry. Probably should have went through the detailed numbers on this. He purchases $49,900. So imagine that you invested the same money to buy the property, just like Steve did, just 12 years ago, and you reinvested the returns. You would now have 3 rental properties totaling an estimated 3 rental properties total and an estimated retirement account value of over $165,000 in cash and equity. That means you would have been able to buy 2 additional properties just from the profits. What would you do with that extra money? What would your family do with that extra money? Now, I showed you 3 case studies from 3 clients. And what do they all have in common? They did what the pros do, and they got help that they needed from an expert. They didn't try to do it on their own. The 3 properties I mentioned make great investments. They meet all the investing criteria for the turnkey trifecta investment method. Now, a little more detail into the process. The process is you open up an account at a company that handles self-directed IRAs, and they'll help you get your funds transferred over to them from your 401k, IRA, savings accounts, what have you. Now, traditional 401ks, IRAs, you can't invest in real estate, but if you move your money over to a self-directed IRA, you can. There's no penalties to transfer your money or anything like that. After everything is set up and your funds clear, you direct the self-directed IRA company to send your funds to a title company where a regular real estate closing happens. We never touch your money ever. Your retirement account owns 100% of the interest in the property, And that's that. If you're paying with cash or you already have a self-directed IRA set up, closing can be as little as 7 to 10 days. And if you're setting up a new self-directed IRA, closing will take 2 to 4 weeks, just because it takes time to transfer funds and that kind of stuff. There is no financing available for these properties in any way. It's just that the banks won't finance, properties less than $50,000 or around the $50,000 mark, because they don't make enough. Whether a bank does a loan at a $50,000 property or $1 million property, their loan costs are fixed at around $2,400. So it's just with the interest that they make on a loan that small, it's not worth it for them. So account fees on self-directed IRAs are typically lower than account fees on most 401ks, and you don't have any any like fund management fees for someone to manage your investments. You have the management fee for someone to manage the actual real estate, but that's already fixed into the cost and that kind of stuff. So what about the risks? Well, no investment is obviously risk-free, but your risk of loss is greatly reduced when you follow the system, and the risks honestly pale in comparison to investing in stocks and mutual funds and that kind of stuff. There's really two types of issues. The first is tenant issues, like the tenants paying late, not taking care of the property, and those are kind of eliminated when you know how to screen a tenant, which we're not asking you to know how to screen a tenant. That's what choosing a quality management company is for, and that's what we've already done. And the second issue that you can have are property issues, and those are greatly reduced when you have a quality inspection, which is what we do beforehand. We fix everything, and you pick the right area, and you invest in markets with a large tenant pool so that you avoid vacancy issues. So those are, on the markets that we work in, those are already selected. We work in markets where as long as a property just needs to be cleaned, it can be turned around in a few days and rented to somebody else. As long as we get 30 days notice, we can begin marketing that property, we can begin showing that property, and we can set a move-in date, a couple days after one tenant moves out. So remember, when you have your money invested in the stock market, and if the stock market goes down 10%, you literally just lost that money. Poof, it's gone. However, if you have to make an unexpected repair, you're investing in something that will increase in value because of those repairs. Unexpected repairs stink, but they increase the value of the property. That's quite a bit different than stocks and all that kind of stuff. And how often does rent go down? Here is a median asking rent chart for vacant rent units from 1988 to 2014. You may see tiny little dips like dollars, but there are no massive dips. When was the last time your rent went down, if you've ever rented? Probably never. So unlike the stock market, which goes down, up and down daily. So what about a crash? Some people are worried about that. Despite what you heard about the real estate bubble of 2008, real estate is actually a safe investment if you invest in areas with average appreciation. See, those that invested in areas where they were seeing double-digit appreciation per year, like California, Las Vegas, Chicago, Florida, were those that were badly hurt by the bubble. They were speculating, which is like gambling, which is really like, the stock market, to be honest. As fast as property values can go up, they can come crashing down even faster. So think income and cash flow and not appreciation. Appreciation is just a bonus. Now, you might be skeptical. You might be telling yourself things like, oh, this sounds too good to be true, or 13% returns are a bit pie in the sky. A friend of mine actually read my book, and he's like, it sounded a bit unbelievable. He's like, if I didn't know you, I might have thought you were lying, to be honest with you. So he's like, why don't you just tell people that you can get them a lower, more reasonable rate of return, and have people be pleasantly surprised when they get 13% returns. And I told him, well, the numbers are the numbers. That's incomes and expenses. That's it. I can't, the numbers say 13%. So if I put the numbers out there, it is what it is. But understand that nobody can guarantee returns. When I say 13% returns, that's the incomes minus expenses, but it's an investment. You might have an unexpected repair. Most of the time, the 12% repair reserve that we put in place, that will be just fine, and you'll never, not never, but most years you will not use that full 12%. But then you'll have a year where a tenant will move out. Maybe you'll need to do some carpet and paint, and you'll kind of use from the reserves that you didn't use in previous years. But let's think about why you might be skeptical for a second. And it's because you're so used to receiving average returns. You're so used to the status quo. You're so used to investing in the stock market and that kind of stuff. Be open to something different. So you might ask yourself, what about investing in my own backyard? Unfortunately, you can't find these types of deals in most cities in the U.S. For example, after reviewing a list of properties for sale in Orange County, California, the lowest priced property was a 3-bedroom condo for $379,000. And after doing research on the rental market, this condo would only rent for $2,000 a month, minus expenses. You'd be lucky to make 5% on your money. So my thing is live where you live, but invest where it makes sense. And with the property management, you can invest anywhere. Another one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they go into these markets for appreciation. So yeah, Denver is experiencing rapid appreciation right now and for the past few years. But it's a horrible rental market. Okay, the property prices are too high, the taxes are too high. You can't, you can make money in the appreciation game if you know when to get in and you know when to get out. Just like with the stock market, and that's a lot more riskier. So can I do this on my own? Yeah, but why would you want to be honest? We've already researched 400 markets and we know where to buy and most importantly where not to buy and we know where to get the deals. We do all the legwork for you by putting each property through a 62-point due diligence process. There's a learning curve if you go it alone, which means you won't get fast results, which means you're probably going to lose money. You just don't know what you just don't know. The biggest reason, it doesn't cost you anything to work with us. We make our money by getting bulk discounts on properties, and there's no ongoing fees with us. We don't get kickbacks from anybody we recommend you to, whether it be self-directed IRA company or property managers or anything. We only recommend you to people that are good. And it comes back to that quote from Warren Buffett. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So let somebody help you. So think about how much money you could lose if you did it alone. You've heard the horror stories. A guy buys a rental or two in the wrong area and puts the wrong tenant in there and does all the management himself, and he's miserable, okay? You don't want that to be you. That's the bad side of having rentals. There's great sides of having rentals if you're not the one managing them. There's lots of laws to keep up with. That's why you want somebody whose full-time job it is to manage properties. Let them do it. Now you have a choice to keep struggling, to keep leaving mass amounts of money on the table. That number that you circled, underlined, that's what you're choosing to leave on the table. Or what if I literally offered to help you and hold your hand completely for free? Would you be interested? Here's how I can help just 10 people on here. We got a lot of people on this webinar. I only got the time to help 10 of you. So, if this speaks to you, act quickly. I've been getting amazing results for my clients, and there's a good chance I can do the same for you and your investments. My team and I have set aside some time in the next 48 hours to speak to you personally about how you can apply this strategy to your investments starting today. Whatever your biggest investment challenges are, we've seen them before and we know how to overcome them. Now on this session, it'll take around 30 minutes and you'll speak with me or a highly qualified member of my staff. We'll take an in-depth comprehensive analysis of the current state of your retirement accounts. Please be sure to make note of your current rate of return before coming on the call. We'll map out your retirement goals and determine what you want your retirement lifestyle to look like. We'll calculate how much money you need to live that lifestyle, which is kind of the goals portion of the turnkey trifecta investment method. And then we'll come up with a custom investment plan designed to grow your investments tax-free, provide double-digit returns on your money like clockwork, eliminate downside risk, and help you reach your retirement goals. And that's kind of the system and the high returns aspect. And there is a way where you can grow your investments with real estate tax-free, which we can talk about on the call. Now, the advice you get will be cutting-edge, detailed investment advice that you won't find anywhere else, all with a focus on income and protecting what you've earned. I'll even give you access to our exclusive list of hand-picked properties that will be a great addition to your portfolio. We just got some new properties in that we're going to be moving. We'll give you $2,000 off each property that you put under contract this week. So here's how the session will benefit you. The worries we talked about earlier will completely evaporate. How much better would you feel if you already knew you were going to have over 100% of the money that you'll need from retirement? That'd feel great. The best part, I normally charge $197 for a session like this, but today it's completely free for 10 of you. So here's who this is for. You'll need to have investment assets totaling no less than $45,000. And that's just the minimum amount necessary to allow me to make a sizable impact for you, because that's kind of the minimum price that you can pick up a property for in the asset classes that we work in. You must be willing to deploy time-tested and perfectly legal tax-saving strategies. I don't advocate the use of exotic shelters or other risky techniques. And finally, you need to be looking for conservative growth as opposed to risky magic bullet investments. There's investments out there where you can make 40% per year on your money, but it's highly risky. Real estate is the best of both worlds. It's great returns and very low risk. Now, if this describes you, what I want you to do is book this session with me right now. But I want to tell you who this isn't for first, okay? And I'm really serious about this. If you don't currently have the funds to take action right now, please don't sign up for a session. Remember, there's no financing for these properties. And if you're getting some kind of settlement in the near future or a divorce settlement or you're close to having the available funds, by all means, grab a spot. But this is not for hope and a prayer people who have $0 or a couple $1,000s now. And this isn't one of those no money down things or use other people's kind of money, nor is it about how to buy and sell properties for yourself. This is for people who want an expert to do everything for them and get them the returns with very low risks. Now, there are only 10 spots available, so please don't take someone's spot who needs it. Here's why we're doing this. Bottom line, you might need our help. I've been investing in real estate for 13 years now, so I love giving back and helping people achieve their financial and retirement goals. Some of the people I speak with ask to become clients after our conversation, and if so, we can discuss it and see if it's a good fit for the both of us. If not, that's totally fine too. Remember, there's only 10 spots available though. So what I want you to do is go to www.helpfrombrian.com, or you can click on the button that appeared below the chat box if you're watching this live that says My Schedule. And once you go there, this is what's going to happen. You're going to pick a spot in my calendar, tell me a little bit about your situation, and we'll call you at your scheduled time. And if the link still works, there's still one of the 10 spots available. So here's what that's going to kind of look like. You'll come to this page, you'll pick a date and time, and just answer a couple questions, click submit, you confirm your booking, and that's it. Please, 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 if you book a slot, make sure to answer your phone at the time that you book. Like I said, don't take a spot away from somebody else who needs it. Now, this isn't a sales call in disguise. I won't chase you or bother you. I'm not here to sell. I'm here to serve. If you don't want, what we're offering, the properties that we have, somebody else will, to be honest with you. If you're getting better returns elsewhere, I'm not going to, push you into real estate. If you're getting 14, 15, 20% returns elsewhere and you're happy with the risk factor, by all means, do that and put your money where it's working for you better. But if it's not working for you better right now, or if it's not really working for you well right now, is probably the proper English, this is probably for you. Or if real estate isn't a good fit for your situation, for whatever reason, then I would never suggest that you get involved with real estate. I want you to meet John here. John is a garbage man from Chicago. He took me up on my offer to have a free call, the same free call that I'm offering you here right now. He had $100,000 to invest in his retirement accounts, between his IRA and 401k, and we helped him get a self-directed IRA set up and his funds transferred to his new self-directed IRA. And using the $100,000 in his new self-directed IRA, he bought 2 single-family rentals that we recommended to him. Here's a result. He's now making $13,000 a year in positive cash flow. That's after all expenses, including property management and repair allowances. Without him lifting a finger, completely hands-off, never dealing with a tenant, never dealing with the bad side of the rental business. He's making 13% of his money every single year. $13,000 is 13% of $100,000. In less than 4 years from when he bought his first 2 properties, he could buy another property using just the profits. And that's without adding any additional money. And after he buys his 3rd property, then he'll be making $19,500 a year in positive cash flow. Then in 2.5 years from then, he can buy his 4th property. And after he buys his 4th property, which is less than 8 years from when he started, he'll be making $26,000 a year in positive cash flow. And 2 years later, he'll be able to buy his 5th property, and he'll be making $32,500 a year. 1.5 years after that, he'll be able to buy his 6th property, and he'll be making $39,000 a year. But something else cool happens after purchasing his 6th property. He'll be able to buy at least 1 new property every single year from here on out until he retires. Some years he'll be able to buy 2 as he gets further on down the line. Now, he wants to retire 20 years from when he bought his first property. And when he retires, he'll have 20 rental properties, $10,833 a month in positive cash flow, and just over $1 million in cash and equity. Okay? That's all from just an initial $100,000 investment to buy 2 properties, and just reinvesting the profits. Now, this plan here, people buying 2 properties, wanting that $10,000 a month, this is the most typical thing that most people want and can do. So that's $699,000 more than he would have had he continued earning 6.3% on his money. His money will double in less than 7 years. Where else can you double your investment in under 7 years? Not in the stock market, unless you get really, really lucky. So that's not even accounting for the appreciation that will most likely happen. But we never include appreciation in these numbers. And the best part, he cut 5 years off his retirement date just by buying the original 2 houses. Is the power of real estate beginning to set in? It should be. So my student did all this just from our free phone call together. Same call I'm offering you now. He said, wow, I never realized the money I should have been making in my retirement money. And it's ridiculous how simple you made everything. I'm even getting better returns than you advertised. I'm only 39 years old, and retirement is actually already in sight thanks to you. All this required a leap of faith on my part, but I'm glad I made the jump. I'm even referring my mom over to you next week. Thanks, Brian. So I have a question for you. Do you want to be like John? Do you want to be my next success story? John isn't the rare exception. These are the results our students see when they work with us and they follow our advice. John was losing $2,914 every single month that he chose to keep his money in, stocks and bonds and mutual funds and that kind of stuff. Every single month. The question is, how much are you losing? That's real money in your pocket. So this isn't just for you. Can you see your family right now? People are depending on you to make the right decision right now. And, I understand, investing is a big decision. Sometimes we get fearful and we do nothing. We just kind of sit there. We don't open our statements. We don't make changes, and that's not good. If you don't change anything right now, how will tomorrow be any different? Are you really okay leaving the amount of money that we identified on the table, the number that you circled, underlined? That's the choice that you're making. So if you're ready to make that change, book a session right now before somebody else beats you to it. Now, we don't have time for a Q&A. We're really running short on time here, but any questions asked in the live chat box, Courtney will do her best to answer those. If not, we'll email you with answers. If you really like what I've told you about here, and you're just a little bit unsure, you have a couple questions, go ahead and book a session. We can talk about the questions that you have, and see if it's a good fit for you. Apologize that we're not going to have time to do a detailed Q&A session here, but the most important thing is don't procrastinate. Investing is one of those things we think that we can keep putting off. We tell ourselves things like, I'll work until I drop dead, or I'm busy, I'll do it next month, or I'll have a windfall year and add a lot of money to my retirement accounts next year. Or won't I lose money? Isn't investing risky? It's never too late or too early. But obviously the earlier the better. This is kind of a chart showing, the differences in people that get started early, okay? I mean, even if you're 55 now, okay, the time to start is like yesterday. So don't procrastinate. You're here for a reason. Maybe you're behind on your retirement planning. Maybe you've watched a friend or family member who didn't take their retirement investing seriously suffer the consequences. Maybe your parents. Maybe you just want more for you and your family than what's average. Whatever the case, having a no excuse policy right now and following through is what's important. So do yourself a favor, go to helpfrombrian.com or click the My Schedule button on the right if that's there, and grab your spot before someone else takes it from you, to be honest. So here's what I promise on this webinar, that these will be the best 45 minutes you've ever spent on your investments. And then when you leave this training, you will have a complete roadmap to start investing in a way that will almost guarantee that you meet your retirement goals and live the retirement lifestyle that you've been working so hard for all of your life. So remember the three things: goals, system, high rate of return. So the question is did I deliver? At the beginning of this, I told you that I want to send you $100 if I don't deliver. I know there's a lot of webinars out there. So if I didn't, if you're disappointed by what you heard here, if I didn't give you that roadmap, I want to send you $100 of my own money. That's my way of apologizing. So if that's the case, like I said, only a few people have ever done this before, and that's fine if that's you. But for most people, I think this is kind of what you've been looking for. But if it is you, go ahead and shoot me an email, and I'll get that out to you. So we're wrapping up here. This is it. We're out of time. So do yourself a favor. Go to www.helpfrombrian. Grab a spot. Love to chat with you. I do most of these calls, but sometimes I do get wrapped up, and my team has to take a call. So I look forward to talking to you if that's in the cards. If not, my staff is equally as competent as I am. So thanks so much for joining me on the webinar, and I look forward to working with you.